You've been dishonest in our previous interviews with Fox 13. The board has asked for more transparency. Is there anything you'd like to say?
It's a well-known fact that Suzanne is married to Hiram Kingston, which is the leader's brother.
For nearly a year and a half, this public charter school in West Valley City has been responding to concerns about its ties to the polygamous Kingston group. The question started with a Fox 13 News investigation in December of 2020. Now, Vanguard Academy is still struggling to meet the requirements of the state charter school board.
Are you familiar with the Latter-day Church of Christ?
The
Latter-day Church of Christ?
Oh, I've heard of them, yeah.
But you're not familiar with it?
No. Well, this, like I say, this is a public charter school.
Fox 13 conducted this interview with Vanguard principal Suzanne Owen nearly 15 months ago in West Valley City.
There's no religious tie. This is a public charter school.
Now the school is still facing questions about its teachers and students who nearly all belong to the same polygamous family.
I mean, it really doesn't take much of an investigation. Everybody looks the same. Everybody's got the same last name.
The state charter school board says the school must remain open to everyone, but they are especially concerned with the school's spending of hundreds of thousands of taxpayer dollars. Businesses affiliated with the Kingston Group, also known as the Davis County Cooperative Society, or the Order. The Southern Poverty Law Center has labeled the Kingston family as a hate group.
Whether they're affiliated with any kind of other religion isn't part of the process.
We've been dancing around the issue, so we're talking about a cooperative, a Davis County Cooperative Society. We cannot assure that things are being done appropriately because of the nature of it.
Since June, Vanguard Academy has been working with the state charter school board in an effort to be taken off warning status. Now the school says it is not renewing the principal's contract and that it will add 2 new board members who are outside of the Kingston Group to avoid conflicts of interest.
Which people have been changed and added, and give me a rundown on that.
So far, Vanguard Academy has declined to reveal the names of the new employees, which means it's hard to tell if in fact they are outsiders of the Kingston Group. Even if they are, some say that is not enough because if the current board members recuse themselves from votes involving taxpayer money, the other 2 do not make up a quorum. They will not be able to make decisions on their own.
We have so much knowledge now on this Kingston group. Why are we still allowing them to take our public funds?
Ask questions, keep asking questions, because the more they're put on the spotlight, inevitably the truth will come out.
Board members credited Fox 13 investigative reporter Adam Hervetz for exposing issues related to Vanguard's spending. And now he's learned the school is defying the state's warnings by continuing to appoint family members to key leadership positions.
Within 3 years of being married, I was divorced. The person I married in the order was a cousin.
Chanel DeRue is not scared to talk about polygamy within her family, known as the Order or the Kingston Group. She left more than 10 years ago, but is still worried about her siblings who attend the group's taxpayer-funded school, Vanguard Academy.
Education isn't exactly a privilege for everybody in there.
I'm hoping that we just stop paying them millions of dollars a year to run a whites-only charter school for only the children of their own cult.
Nearly 1 year ago, the state charter school board placed Vanguard Academy on warning status after Fox 13 discovered the school paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to businesses from the polygamous Kingston Group. Some of the same companies also involved in the Kingston's $500 million Washakie Renewable Energy fraud case, which sent Isaiah Kingston and Jacob Kingston to prison.
We need to be transparent. These are public dollars.
Utah should get in there and be like, this is how we're going to fix it. Utah should get in there to fix it. It's Utah's problem. Vanguard is clearly not fixing their problem.
Chanel says the Kingstons teach its members to take as much money as they can from the government, also known as bleeding the beast. She addressed the board last month, wanting to know why the state has not done anything since Vanguard's warning.
I don't think it should be shut down, but it definitely needs to be altered. Why has it taken so long?
We have the ability to take a number of actions. We can remove a director, we can remove board members. We could even close a school. But there's also a process that must take place before then.
The state found all 7 of Vanguard Academy's board members had social or financial ties to the Kingston Group. So Vanguard agreed to make changes by appointing new members who can vote on the school's spending without a conflict.
The board has also selected and hired a new non-conflicted director that will assume those responsibilities effective immediately. We feel like these measures will give the state charter board the reassurance that it needs that any financial items will be transparent and non-conflicted.
Vanguard Academy's previous director, Suzanne Owen, has never been forthcoming about her involvement in the Kingston Group. Even though Vanguard Academy promised the school's new director would have no conflicts of interest, Fox 13 has now learned through sources Owen is being replaced by her brother-in-law, Charles Reynolds, another known member of the Kingston clan.
What do you know about Charles Reynolds?
I know he's part of the polygamist group. I know who his parents are. I worked with him at the mine for multiple years. Charles was one of the leaders at the coal mine.
She's talking about the Co-op mine near Huntington. In this photo, Charles Reynolds is posing with Paul Kingston, the group's leader and prophet. Other former members of the order, like Amanda Ray, said they are surprised the school would try to downplay Reynolds' status as a Kingston insider.
He's going to do what he has to do to protect the order.
A lot of people know that you are part of the cooperative.
Well, and based on the definition.
Reynolds said he does not feel like his ties to the group or his marriage to the previous director's sister is a conflict of interest.
It's kind of obvious that Vanguard is not willing to cooperate with the rules. I don't know that they should be allowed to be a school.
In order to comply with the state's concerns, Vanguard also appointed 3 new board members: Benjamin Robinson, Joshua Peterson, and Daniel Jessup.
Scott Kingston, this man, is married to this man's sister.
Yep.
And they're saying that's not a conflict.
Well, it is. Of course it's a conflict of interest. That's his brother-in-law.
Past and present members of the order have confirmed Daniel Jessup has 2 sisters who married into the Kingston family.
I remember when Kathleen and Ellie both got married because I remember in church seeing new people and being like, who are they? I don't recognize them. And my mom letting me know, well, they are actually from a different polygamous group.
Joshua Peterson was one of Vanguard Academy's first board members in 2014. He left, but Vanguard asked him to come back in wake of the school's warning status. He's also a known member of the Kingston Group.
And he also worked at the mine when I was working at the mine. He's always been part of the order.
Chanel and other former members say they don't know who Benjamin Robinson is, but even if he is an outsider, he will be heavily outnumbered on the board.
If we do find that the school is misrepresenting something, then we would love to have that discussion with them to ascertain why.
This isn't another public school. This is a Kingston-ran public school. So you can't take the same approach that you take with these other schools. You need to have people who do know this stuff.
The state admits it is difficult for government employees to figure out who is related within the group, even though we've been able to. They're hoping people with more information can help them as they continue to investigate.
Now the school and the state are responding.
Today, at a public meeting, the chair of the State Charter School Board said it's time for Vanguard Academy to take its medicine by finally complying with the state's requests. And just like the way she teaches her children, they could do it either the easy way or the hard way.
The hard way is I hold you down and I give you the medicine. The easy way is you open your mouth and I give you the medicine. Either way, you have to take the medicine. You get to choose the way.
She and members of the public said they know Vanguard Academy is trying to appoint new board members who still have conflicts of interest, which means they still will not be able to vote on the school's spending on Kingston businesses. When we asked one of those new board members about it, at first he denied any involvement. Then he stopped talking when confronted with facts we had already confirmed about his family.
I'm not sure why they assume that I'm conflicted. I don't have any previous connection to Vanguard Academy, and so I think that that was an assumption.
Do you have 2 sisters who are in the Kingston group?
I have no comment.
Is your sister the assistant director?
Last month, the state discussed the possibility of removing some of Vanguard Academy's board members and appointing their own. At this point, it's unclear how much time Vanguard Academy has to comply with the state's requests.
New tonight, a public charter school operated by leaders within the polygamous Kingston group is now on probation.
Fox 13 News investigative reporter Adam Herbets exposed the problem nearly 2 years ago now. Adam is live in studio tonight with an update. Adam.
Yeah, Bob Kelly, while most kids are getting ready to go back to school at Vanguard Academy, today the state decided to clean house, voting to remove and replace all 9 of the school's board members. You might remember we first started reporting on Vanguard Academy in December of 2020 because we found this public charter school receiving millions of taxpayer dollars has students who are almost all members of the polygamous Kingston group, teachers who are almost all members of the Kingston group, and board members who at the time were all members of the Kingston group. Today, the state said even though public schools are supposed to have a clear divide between church and state, this decision has nothing to do with religion and almost everything to do with the way this school is deciding to spend your money on Kingston businesses. That's something former members say was taught to them from a young age. It's called bleeding the beast.
I was taught that the term bleeding the beast means to take money from the government, and that the government's the beast, and that they have plenty of money to give.
We are right now giving them the opportunity to be completely transparent.
At today's meeting, the state made it clear if Vanguard Academy still does not fix its problems, the state now has the right to take another vote to shut down the school 3 months from now. We just returned from that meeting where both sides laid out years' worth of frustrations they have had with the process. And tomorrow at 9, we'll show you exactly where your money is going and why state lawmakers have also been getting involved with this public charter school.
Tonight, Vanguard Academy is addressing the elephant in the room. They say the public school is being discriminated against because of polygamy. The school says it's unfair for the state to remove all of its board members.
People who leave the group and publicly talk about it are automatically evil. They're enemies. We're told they're demons. They're going to hell now. They're turning away from God. They're betraying us.
For 20 months, we have explained how church and state are blurred at best. We feel you have a right to know where your money has been going for the past 7 years.
The background of what brings us here today.
Members of the polygamous Kingston group walked in as Vanguard Academy administrators. They walked out feeling like their school was being taken from them.
For the school to have to replace their board members, I'm thrilled about that.
But Vanguard Academy isn't supposed to belong to anyone. It's a public school.
I think all public charter schools ought to be held to the same standards. And to the degree that Vanguard is not meeting those standards, it should be held accountable by its authorizer.
One story after another after another. So yeah, that kind of thing is troubling, and I think it's my job as a representative to be troubled.
On Monday, the State Charter School Board voted to put Vanguard Academy on probation. All 9 of the board members will be removed, and the state will choose their replacements.
They should look forward to that if they welcome the transparency.
Nearly 2 years ago, Fox 13 News discovered the school spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on Kingston businesses. It's still happening today.
Basically a private school with public money. And that's, I think, the most crucial part of your investigation. You're talking to the right people and you're asking so many good questions. And they were questions that were overlooked by the State Charter Board and hopefully will no longer be.
Brooke Anderson is a school data analyst. She was shocked to learn that Vanguard Academy spends less on teaching children compared to most public schools. Instead, large sums of money go towards some of the same companies connected to the Kingston's $500 million Washakie Renewable Energy fraud case, which sent Isaiah Kingston and Jacob Kingston to prison.
This is a school that is run by a closed society only for their own children, their own purposes, and their own profit. And that's what's concerning to me.
Vanguard Academy pointed to the school's high test scores and argued they're victims of religious persecution. Quote, "We are reviewing all legal options and avenues to fight against these actions we see as purely motivated by discrimination and hatred."
The group is well known for bleeding the beast. I was taught that the term bleeding the beast means take money from the government, and that the government's the beast, and that they have plenty of money to give.
Chanel DeRue is a former member of the Kingston Group. She watched and wondered why the state seemed to shy away from ever bringing up the religion she was raised in, especially because each of the administrators in that room representing the school are related to the prophet, Paul Kingston.
One's his son, one's his wife, one's his brother-in-law, and one's his half-brother.
I question why we're walking on eggshells for something that is published and known.
I believe it was Adam Herbetz, one of the media people that have been harassing Vanguard, and he kept interrupting that meeting saying, "Is there a quorum present?"
Tonight, a Fox 13 News investigation continues into a public charter school with connections to the polygamous Kingston Group. It's a story we've been reporting on for nearly 2 years.
Hundreds of thousands of your tax dollars are being passed through Vanguard Academy in West Valley City and on to Kingston-owned businesses. Fox 13 News investigative reporter Adam Herbetz joins us in studio tonight to explain why the state believes Vanguard is having secret meetings. Adam.
Well, Bob, Emily, there is not supposed to be anything secret about a public school. But that's what we're exposing tonight. Violations of Utah state law that the state thought were so bad they did something they've never done before, firing all 9 board members.
When people ask, they say, "Where did you go to high school?" And you're going to be able to say, "I went to Vanguard." And then people will say, "Isn't that where all of the successful individuals in the community come from?"
The students might be successful, but the state says administrators are not when it comes to following Utah law and its own bylaws.
Is the board adequately overseeing the school? And if they are, then it's not being done transparently.
Fox 13 News has been investigating Vanguard Academy for nearly 2 years, and the state has reached many of the same conclusions. It's a public school with ties to the polygamous Kingston Group that receives millions of taxpayer dollars each year. At least hundreds of thousands are being spent on businesses owned by their family members.
I don't know how you would do the public's business in secret. The public's business is not secret.
The way they spend your money is public, and the meetings are supposed to be too. Last October at this meeting, nobody would talk to us. Then watch what happened when we tried to go to this public meeting in April. All we found was the school's director sitting in his office behind a laptop. Everyone else was who knows where, online. Most of them with their cameras off. In some cases, multiple voices coming from the same computer. We sat quietly and waited. These are the meetings where they're supposed to make critical decisions that affect students, how they spend taxpayer money. For example, the state found last year Vanguard spent more than 14 times the average public school on its meals. As we've reported, Premier Catering and Food Service, the school's vendor, has direct ties to the Kingston Group.
Darren just barely joined.
Hello. According to Utah law, you cannot have a public meeting unless you have the majority of your board present. Vanguard's own bylaws say they need 2/3. I asked why they were meeting anyway, and at the time, we gave them the benefit of the doubt.
Kent, there's a comment in the chat on the Zoom meeting.
Sorry for the confusion. Who are the individuals who make up the quorum? Here's how Grace Mitchell described our question. She's one of the prophet's wives.
I believe it was Adam Herbetz, one of the media people that have been harassing Vanguard, and he kept interrupting that meeting saying, "Is there a quorum present?"
I do not agree with all of the representations that Vanguard was making in that instance.
The state says that meeting was improper and not transparent. One of the reasons they removed all 9 board members.
The fact that you get asked questions during a public meeting, that wouldn't seem to be harassment. Taking in public comment and answering those questions is the job. It's a big part of the job. I noticed that they kept saying, "Well, we didn't know. We're doing our best. We just didn't know how to do this." And how long has this school been open? 7 years?
It's not the first time the group has been upset with us for asking questions at a public meeting. Is there anything you'd like to say? In May, they published this article. Fox 13 and Adam Herbetz continue a pattern of false and hateful reporting. They referred to the experts we've interviewed as bigoted toward polygamists and argued there are no conflicts of interest. Fox 13 has never seen a parent or student attend or ask questions at a public meeting.
Where are they in this school? Where is the public comment from the families at this school? Isn't it concerning that there's no one? How is it so silent?
The state also found a secret so-called emergency meeting in February that was not advertised properly for people to attend and wasn't recorded except for the first 2 minutes. It's the meeting where they decided to remove their previous director, Suzanne Owen, after we caught her saying this about her involvement with the Kingston Group.
Well, I've heard of them, yeah.
But you're not familiar with it?
No. Well, this, like I say, this is a public charter school.
It was so hard for me not to laugh. It's a well-known fact that Suzanne is married to Hiram Kingston, which is the leader's brother.
The relationship with a polygamous community is unusual. There's some ticky-tack fouls, and we need to do better at that. Everybody does.
Now that the school board is about to be replaced, a lot of parents are threatening to remove their children. The state isn't replacing any administrators or teachers, but according to Vanguard, most of the kids' parents already work at the public school, and they feel threatened, accusing the state of cultural discrimination against polygamists.
The Executive Resolution Committee has the authority to relinquish our charter in a way that allows the school to continue to operate.
It'd be a private school at that point, is that what it means?
Possibly. Polygamy's roots do come out of religion, sure. They're not teaching religion, and the fact that virtually every public school in Utah has a large contingency of LDS folks doesn't make that inappropriate.
That's Royce Van Tassel. He's a lobbyist for charter schools. He said he's still hopeful that Vanguard Academy will be able to negotiate with the state to save the board. But as we've reported, that's what they've been doing for the last year and a half, while the taxpayer money keeps rolling in and keeps being spent on Kingston-affiliated businesses.
More than 1,000 students held a rally this afternoon at a public school that caters to members of the polygamous Kingston Group. They said they're upset with the state's decision to fire the entire school board. Fox 13 News investigative reporter Adam Herbitz explains what demonstrators at Vanguard Academy in West Valley City are hoping to accomplish.
Well, one of the organizers told us there were 1,500 people out here, and based on what we saw, that's probably about right. Mostly students from Vanguard Academy, but also students from Ensign Learning Center. That's the private school just across the street, also run by the Kingston Group. We are blurring the kids' faces for privacy reasons, but they held signs saying, "Shame on Utah. Are you listening, Governor Cox? Hold the charter board accountable, and why do you hate us?" The school is fighting back, not just with rallies like this, but as we reported earlier this week, they're challenging whether the state has the legal authority to make that decision. In fact, they even submitted into evidence documents from 61 parents who swore under oath that they will be forced to remove their students from this school if the decision stands, because they fear religious persecution. When we reviewed the names of those parents, we found nearly 75% of them share the same last name as people who have received money from the school, either as an employee or vendor. We expect a judge will make the decision next week on September 7th, and if nothing changes, the entire board will be removed and replaced on September 8th. Reporting in West Valley City, Adam Herbitz, Fox 13 News, Utah.
This is a school that is run by a closed society only for their own children, their own purposes, and their own profit. And that's what's concerning to me.
For now, a Salt Lake City judge is stopping the state from firing the entire Board of Education at a public school run by the polygamous Kingston Group. But the fight over Vanguard Academy's school board is not over.
They could still lose their entire board next month, but the judge made it very clear. Today's hearing was not about the merits of the case. They did not talk about the school's spending of taxpayer money on family businesses, and they did not talk about the school's religious ties. All of that will happen in October. The question they tried to answer today is, why not wait until then before making a permanent change? Watch and listen. This is one of Vanguard Academy's primary arguments.
Next week, you'll have no students at that school. And the effect will be that this school will be out of business by this time next week.
The judge was not exactly convinced. She said that sounds like the damage is self-inflicted. But she also said there's no harm in waiting a few more weeks. In other words, her decision wasn't necessarily to protect the school board or to protect the state. She wants to protect the case.
I really appreciate you guys taking the time to hear us, and I appreciate being able to speak today.
Some of them were angry, others cried, pleading with the state to stop trying to fire the entire board of Vanguard Academy, a charter school run by the polygamous Kingston Group.
When my 4 older kids were going to public school, then they were treated differently.
But Vanguard is also a public school, which means it gets millions of taxpayer dollars each year that must be spent appropriately. Nearly 2 years ago, we found them spending it on family businesses that also have ties to polygamy.
You have parents in there who want the best for their kids, and I support that 100%. We got to do that and follow the rules. And some of them aren't rules, they're laws.
Earlier this week, the state considered installing this man
My name is Mark Ersick.
as the new director of Vanguard Academy. But they changed their mind after being made aware of this email. Quote, "There is no question they're a criminal syndicate. They just happen to be polygamous too." Do you think you could have succeeded in the job with the current board as it stands today?
No.
They've been warned, they've been told, they've been asked, they've been given extra resources to fix their problems. They're not going to put themselves back in order. They should be closed.
First they were fired, now they aren't. The 9 board members, each with ties to the polygamous Kingston Group, have learned they will not be replaced after all. It's a complete 180 from the state's decision last month to remove Vanguard Academy's board.
But the school is still on probation and could still be shut down as early as November. Fox 13 News investigative reporter Adam Herbets has tonight's update.
2.5 weeks later, when the state charter school board changed its mind, they kept it under the radar, voting only after every member of the public left the meeting.
This is a lot of money that we're wasting.
Nearly 2 years ago, a Fox 13 News investigation revealed how the school board was spending millions of taxpayer dollars on family businesses. Most of the staff and students belong to the polygamous Kingston Group. The money continues to be spent on these same businesses that your board has concerns with.
There is continuing money being flowed to Vanguard.
And continuing money flowing from Vanguard to these businesses.
That's what it appears.
You have a lot of nepotism and you have a lot of people that are related. Charter schools are a very odd entity because they are just picked by their friends.
Senator Kathleen Reeby says she has always viewed replacing Vanguard's board as a weak move. She says the law is clear. The school should have been shut down months ago, if not last year. The state still has Vanguard Academy on probation and is appointing people to work with the school. If Vanguard does not fix its conflicts of interest, the law requires the state to propose a shutdown in November or December, or grant an extension.
We've asked them to fix it and rectify it, and they have refused.
This is how the state charter school board described its decision. Quote, "Our attempt to put in new board members was to give Vanguard Academy a tool to help them resolve the deficiencies. The deficiencies haven't gone away. We've just withdrawn that tool because it was obvious Vanguard Academy would not make use of it." Reporting in studio tonight, Adam Herbets, Fox 13 News, Utah.
The state charter school board voted today to postpone its decision on a public school run by the polygamous Kingston Group. Fox 13 News has been investigating Vanguard Academy in West Valley City since 2020, discovering the school's spending of millions of taxpayer dollars on family businesses. In August, the state placed Vanguard on probation, and today said the school still has not resolved problems identified by the board. If that continues, the state could vote to shut down Vanguard for good. The board decided not to hold that vote today to see how the school responds to the hiring of new employees appointed by the state. Now, instead, they will wait until March to make a final decision.